afternoon. Welcome to The Joy is in the Journey. I'm Gina. I am a practitioner out of Concordia Centers for Spiritual Living in Rhode Island. I am also I'm a student at the Holmes Institute. Happy to say I'm a senior out of the Florida campus. And I'm here with one of my fellow classmates today, who I am so happy to talk about an amazing topic that I think is life-changing to so many, and we are here to take a little bit of a stigma out of it as well. So I'm going to introduce first someone that I consider a friend and a wonderful human being. He's a dedicated father, husband of two, and somehow has time for a ministry that he has co-founded and is co-director of, the Soul Evolution Collaborative. And they actually are going to be here on the 22nd of April. So they're going to tell you a whole lot more about what they do on the 22nd. But he also is a coach. He has private coaching. He's a teacher. He's a certified practitioner. And as I said, just an amazing person. So I am introducing to you my friend and classmate, Chris Lahiff.
Hi there, Gina. Thanks.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks. How about you?
Good, thank you. It's wonderful to have you here today. I am grateful to have you on here. And this topic that we're talking about today is near and dear to my heart. We are talking about the 12 steps today. And it is about the 12 steps, yes, the AA 12 steps, and it's about transformation through them. Now, many people, I mean, everybody at this point has heard of recovery in 12 steps, but there's a stigma around addiction that we're going to try to take away, because these are 12 steps of transformation that without a doubt anybody could use to change their lives. This is, if anyone hasn't ever looked into these, please take some time and pay attention. And, you know, maybe rewind it, look again, send it to people, anyone that has a stigma in it around it. And Chris and I are going to be speaking about this today just from people that have experience. We both have people in our lives. We have personal experience. We have all kinds. We've been around it and known about it for a long time. And that's really what we're talking about, just from the experience of science of mind, looking at the 12 steps and the beauty in it. And the reason that, you know, really it struck us, at least for me, the reason I wanted to do this topic most of all, is there's so many people that find science of mind through the 12 steps. And there's a stigma sometimes that, you know, recovery or addiction or anything like that comes with sometimes. But the truth is, we're all working on whatever it is we're working on. And recovery is just getting better every day in every way. So today we're going to talk about that through, you know, through the mindset of science of mind, looking at each step. What does it mean? What does it look like? So, Chris, let's start off. Just tell me, how do you feel about being here? What's going on with you? Talk to me about what this topic means to you.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I lost you there. I lost you off the screen, but I'll go into what I found about this is the 12 steps are absolutely useful for anybody. As I was, you know, talking to a loved one many years ago and describing what the 12 steps were, you know, the person commented like, you know, that sounds like that would be something that would be good for anybody. And I was kind of moved by that. And so that was, you know, really the inspiration for a workshop that I wanted to do. And maybe we will do at some point. Oh, hi there. And it was, yeah, just so basically looking at how the 12 steps, just for anybody, whether you were in an addiction or not, just to learn the different tools for going within, introspection, addressing things that you may or may not know affect your overall consciousness, and then moving forward in an intentional and conscientious way. That was my original inspiration.
Sorry, I didn't mean to disappear on you. I just figured I'd give you the screen for a bit. Let them say hello. And we're talking about, these 12 steps. And, it's so important to know that when these were written, at the time these steps were written, was when Ernest Holmes was creating the science of mind. It's when all of the speakers were out there. This is where the language is from. Anyone that's gone through or looked at the big book, which is what the 12 and 12 steps are called, the big book has the language of, similar to ours, is creator. There's a chapter in there for the agnostic. There's so many things in there as far as, for people that didn't know what to believe or didn't believe or had been, were upset by prior religions. There are a lot of people that, that there was a lot of people that ended up looking for spirituality after going through these steps, because one of them says, if we no longer, we stop moving forward in our spirituality, we're going to lose this. So there's so much to it. And, even to the point that Emmett Fox's mom typed up the manuscript. I mean, when you talk about New Thought, you can't be more into that. And it's known that a lot of them, including Bill W., knew Ernest Holmes, knew a lot of these speakers that we follow their teachings now. So it is written in a way that is so science of mind and New Thought friendly. And I think it's a wonderful thing for us to bring it up today and be in this place of taking away the stigma to what it is for anyone that doesn't know, but also really looking at what are these steps and how do they translate for people, in science of mind terms.
Yes.
So we have only an hour, and this is a topic that could go literally for days. I mean, it's a study that is lifelong for many people, and it is, to me, it is the greatest self-help book, short of books such as the Bible or, Science of Mind, the textbook itself. It is the greatest self-help book there is, because everybody has something, whether it's shopping, whether it's caretaking, whether it's, it's not just drugs and alcohol. It can be anything, doing anything too much, even loving or caring too much. There's addictions of the internet. How many people have so many hours of screen time? There's so many different things that this is helpful with. So we're going to go through this in the science of mind way. And the first step is we admitted we were powerless over, it says alcohol, and I put these down in the wording that is actually in, the Alcoholics Anonymous book. So you can transfer that word for anything else. We admitted we were powerless and that our lives have become unmanageable. So tell me, Chris, when you see that, what does that mean to you?
Well, for me, and like with the science of mind, how it kind of ties in is, it's really just our lives when I call it our small s self. We have our bigger self of what, is that divine consciousness within us, but just our everyday conscious self moving along, that things come up that sometimes seem overwhelming or that we just want to be different. And so really just acknowledging that there is something bigger in the universe that can help us out with that we don't have to try to struggle and fight through everything on our own.
Yeah, it's learning how to look at life in the bigger terms. Our lives have become unmanageable and powerless over whatever that thing is. And I look at that as ego self, because I know that the power that created the universe is within me. And sometimes the language in that can look like, well, I do have the power. Of course we do. But am I trying to fix it within me, or am I allowing that power that's within me, connecting with that spiritually and allowing that to make the changes that need to be? In and of myself, I am nothing. That's, even Jesus said that. Of myself, I could do nothing. It is the Father within me that does the work. And that's what we're looking at communing with. So it's not saying I'm powerless in the sense that I don't have, but when it comes to whatever that is, it's taking the ego out And it's allowing that greater self, the capital S, as you said, in. It's allowing spirit within us to do that.
Yep, absolutely. Letting go a little bit of the need to swim upstream. Just say, I can't.
Exactly. And it's a lot for a lot of people. It's a tough concept in the sense of powerlessness. Even the word surrender for a lot of people has a negative connotation. And the truth is, it's not about surrendering in the sense of, I'm not weak. There's not a weakness in surrender. There's power in surrender. When we come together as a group, we have a lot more strength than we do as individuals. And that's in anything. If you write a single letter to a congressman or to a senator, you're not meaning much. But if you show up with thousands of people with you and everyone's coming together for that, and it's one common cause, there's a lot more power in it. Well, imagine when divine is involved. That's everything. That's the game changer. So it's being aware that it's not surrendering in the sense of weakness. It's surrendering in strength. It's saying, yes, spirit knows best for me, and I'm going to that source.
Yes.
And the second one came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity.
Yes, absolutely. These first three steps, there's so much in them. They kind of all play together, but yeah, just realizing that, in the science of mind, that's definitely what we talk about is our alignment. When we do affirmative prayer, we align ourselves and acknowledge that infinite presence, that, call whatever, the life force, love, whatever it is, it's inside each of us. And so, yeah, just acknowledging that that is there. We do that in the science of mind, and we do that in 12 steps as well. Just acknowledging that, yes, there's something there for us. As Ernest Holmes said, there's a power in the universe greater than us, and we can use it. Absolutely.
And it is that using it that makes all the difference.
Yes.
And, to know that power exists. And then, some people, like I said, there's a chapter for the atheists and agnostics. And it doesn't have to be what it was in your childhood. It doesn't have to be anybody else's version of. I've known people that whatever they may call it nature, they may call it source, they may call it all kinds of things. And that's the thing itself. That's what we talk about in Science of Mind, the thing itself, the allness of the universe, the isness, being in that place, which is a beautiful thing. And sometimes people read things in a way that it's against. There is no against. That's, to me, the greatest part of New Thought, that we're not against any teachings. Whatever gets you to a place of, it's simply knowing that there's something bigger. And it's calling out to that something bigger to allow it to create in the direction that we want to go into that healthiest place. So it's not surrendering in the something we don't want, but it's giving away for what we do. The lesser for the greater.
Most definitely. And I love that whole idea too of, in the 12 steps, that come to understand, the power of God is there to help us, but it's God as you understand it. And it's very much like you just explained, in Science of Mind. But it's not so much about the label. We just know that there's something bigger. And in 12 steps, occasionally you'll see somebody that has a God issue, and they're very forgiving and allowing of how it is. Where I've even heard, God described as an acronym of group of drunks. That just in that group of people, I know it's kind of shaming, which I don't mean to be at all. But
no, not at all. The group is definitely for a lot of people, that's the beginning. One of the things that I appreciate about the 12 steps, and I mean this wholeheartedly, is you don't have to believe. You have to be willing to believe. Yes. And that is a key. When people walk through our doors, oftentimes they've already come to the place of thinking there is something. The 12 steps is for people that don't even think they really don't think there is help outside of, there's nothing bigger. Some of these people have no hope at all. There is no faith. And that's okay to be told, that, believe that I believe. There are people that start with that. They meet people that they see a change in them and they want what they have. So they believe that they believe.
Yes.
At times I've had people, and even in not to do with 12 steps anywhere, they've asked me to pray and they have no faith. And I said, well, why don't, if you're asking me to say it, or you can do it too. No, because they don't believe in it. But clearly they do believe in it if they're asking me. That's the thing about it, the irony. But the gift of the 12-step programs is that you can walk in from wherever you are in your love, much like New Thought. That's the point of what we do. We greet people exactly where they are is where they're supposed to be. And I think that's part of why people reach out and find New Thought. Not only because the language is the same. When I walked into the doors, of CSL, I heard, the language of people that I already had been reading, Marianne Williamson, and my favorite author was Louise Hay. I absolutely loved Louise Hay, and she was a practitioner. She was a minister at one point within the so she fully started from religious science and then moved on from there. So it's wonderful to see, like Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra, all of that language is all New Thought language. And that's what you're going to find. So it's a beautiful tool for any part of life, which is really important.
Absolutely.
Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. That goes along with what we just said too.
Yep. It's really just letting go, knowing that when you let go, and or as they say, let go and let God. I'm going to use all these cliches apparently, but just letting go and allowing that, just that willingness. Like you said, you don't have to have the ultimate faith, the faith of the size of the grain, of mustard seed. That's just a willingness to believe. Like, I may not believe now, but I'm willing to just give it a try. So yeah, just really letting go and opening up.
Exactly, see what happens. And there's a lot of slogans like keep showing up till the miracle happens, and there's all types of different, because it's different for every person, just like these teachings mean something different. I think that's the best part of, since I've come into here, is we are a teaching, we don't even consider ourselves a religion. We are religious scientists. We're in a place of, it's a spiritual teaching. And the whole point of it is it's a teaching. So we are constantly learning, constantly taking classes, striving to better ourselves in amazing ways. And that's the whole point of it. And I really believe that that's the same thing with the 12 steps as well.
And on this point, I think also there's the idea of, for an addict or somebody that's kind of, at their rock bottom, it's a lot easier to just let go and say, okay, let's see what happens. Give God or this higher power a chance. But for a lot of people, when we talk about how these beneficial the 12 steps would be to people that aren't in any sort of recovery program, or are living very functional lives and don't feel like they necessarily have any issues, to just, like, for the addict, it's easy to give up and let go. But I think a lot of people out there are unaware that there are programs running underneath. So that is kind of, really what we're talking about, is getting this kind of message out to the masses, that there is something to let go in, and just like we said, just see what happens, give it a shot, and see if your life becomes more manageable.
It's hope. It's hope. It's a life raft. No matter what, there's always a place to be without judgment. And that's the most important thing, because, throughout, when I was growing up, that, guilt, shame, I was raised in an Italian Catholic household. There was a ton of guilt. People lived and thrived on it. And that's not how I choose to live today. I make choices, hopefully for the right reasons, but there is some clarity behind it. But it's not because I'm supposed to. Because when I do things for supposed to, then there's resentment. I may do it, but what am I doing it for? What's behind it? Am I doing it because because I choose to, or because I think I'm supposed to? The would, could, shoulds. And that doesn't serve us.
Absolutely not.
So it's taken away the guilt and the resentment and the emotions that may, all of that crap that basically blocks the light of the spirit. And there's even a line in there that talks about the sunlight of the spirit. And it really is, it's about clearing the path to be able to be free to experience spirit in that way. And the fourth step, which is, as little as it looks, can take years, depending on how much you put into it.
Oh, yes.
Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Now that's, a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves.
Yes, fearless. I like that you emphasize that. Yeah, it can be very daunting to go and look within at everything, all the baggage that we hold, all the skeletons in the closet, all the wrongs that we have. I use wrongs with quotes that we have done in the world, and then all the wrongs that have been done to us. So it's a whole bunch of really shadow work, a lot of the dark stuff within us that all affects our overall makeup and our consciousness. And I don't want to speak for everybody, but I know a lot of people all their life, they just kind of pack that stuff down and, get it out of their immediate awareness and then let it go. But we know how that stuff, it has a way of coming up. It needs to be dealt with. So that's why I think 12 steps would be so powerful for anybody. It's because you can't just bottle that stuff up and not have it emerge somehow. Louise Hay is one, would definitely say that the feelings that we pack down in there, they manifest as health concerns quite often, as illnesses, stress, psychosomatic.
Absolutely. Whatever the ism is, whether it's gambling, whether it's drinking, whether it's food, whether it's, whatever it may be, whatever the ism is at the end of it, it's all we did that so that we didn't get over what was bothering us. It was the tool, it was the mechanism. Whether it was being codependent because I didn't know any other way but to take care of the people that I thought I was supposed to. Whatever it is, whatever it may be, there's no shame in it. We did what we were taught to do. And as we go through these steps, and it talks about a fearless moral inventory. It's not in a way of shame. That's the most important thing to bring about. It has nothing to do with in any way feeling guilty or shame. It's taking the worst stuff in stock and removing it. It's clearing it so that I never have to think about it again. There's so many resentments that we build up over a lifetime. Things that, whether we think we're a mind reader, how many of us think that, oh, that person was looking at me wrong. And the truth was they were thinking about something on their own. You had nothing to do with anyone else. But how many of us have our own shame or guilt that we've experienced through life, and we carry that baggage with us? The would have, could have, should have, or it's the not enoughness. And that's really in that, step 4 is where all of it comes to light. It's a process that it's a self-seeking process. And, Practitioner 1 is one of the, when you go through Prac 1 in our studies, there's a lot of information there. But I've known people that had 15 notebooks walking through step 4, 15 notebooks, as opposed to, the 1 year of training for, so it's depending upon how deep you go into the study of, because we can't be our best selves without knowing ourselves. And sometimes, not everyone, we go into a practitioner session, at least my opinion is we go into a prac session because we know the truth of people. And no, I don't need to clear out all their junk. I don't have to do that to know the truth of them.
Yes.
because I don't know their junk. I only know the truth of them. But what happens sometimes, and we see it with people with diseases often, is it grows back. So sometimes the gift of this is to go through it, clear it all away, so we never have to again. And I think that that's one of the greatest gifts, is that in that process of that search, fearless and searching moral inventory, it's looking at my life as a study and spending the time paying attention to what I've done, or what how I've acted and reacted.
Yes.
And that's what forms our lives and our relationships. And it's also how people react to us. There are people that, in practical life, when we look at things, it's amazing how and why things happen. When you really spend the time and look at them, it changes everything, doesn't it?
Most definitely. Yeah. And the fourth step, it was very like CBT, cognitive, behavioral therapy as well, because we looked at what happened, what was the event. We just label it without that judgment, and then we can look at it. So what's the story I told myself about it? Because quite often that's where the problem comes from.
And what could I have done instead? I love that line. And the answer is trusted and relied on God. It's always the answer. What could I have done instead is always trusted and relied on God. Whatever you call it, source, power, whatever you call it, trusted and relied on that.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we look at that, that's no different from what it is that we teach. In every instance, that's the basis of it all, right? But it's plucking out and looking at those things. And the greatest gift is when we see our patterns and we see the end result of those patterns, we can change our patterns.
Yep.
But you can't change what you don't know.
Absolutely. If you're unaware, you're just going to repeat and repeat and repeat. And you're always wondering why it keeps happening to you. But once you're aware, then you're able to take the steps to change it.
It's where the victim mentality, things are done to me instead of through me. And in that process, it's an awareness that it's not about to me. It's about, okay, I see when A and B, then C happened, which is amazing to me. Like the clarity that came through it, the empowerment of it, because we know we're not victims in any way, shape, or form. We're creators. But until we live like that, it doesn't work. We're not going to see the demonstrations.
Yes.
Number 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Now, I know that this is definitely not in the language of science of mind. But
right.
What do you think of that one?
Well, I mean, it's such a powerful step. And we kind of alluded to it a little bit in talking of the fourth step, that it's not a judgment, and but to get it out of ourselves just by expressing it and saying it to another person. There's even power just in like writing it down, journaling, just to get it out, because so often like that helps us bring the clarity to it and the awareness. Otherwise, again, it's like that pushing it down, and it's going to fester in there and cause unknown subconscious issues. And so, yeah, I mean, let me get back to what you said about the wrongs. It's interesting. Like, I definitely believe in the freeing the judgment, that we are all infinite potential for everything. And I love that with science of mind, and with, the 12 steps as well, that we don't judge others. We just listen. We're just here, because everybody is the divine. Everybody has that spark of life within them. There, but for the grace of God, go I. So the fifth step is just so powerful. We do
simply witnessing. It's witnessing. And the gift of it is, too, when we give it away, it's literally gone. When a person is doing that step, it's saying, okay, it's gone. It's not for me to think about or worry about ever again. Give it away. And we do that when we release every time we do a treatment and we release, that's what we do. We give it away, to not take it back again, to not try to figure it out myself. It's to give it all away. Now, I just wanted to say we had some, if there's any questions, please, by all means, we can have people, answer questions, but there are people that, that this is a teaching. It's not for everyone. It's simply to say, we're here to talk about love and being in that acceptance place of, and knowing that there's only good here. There's only good here. And, when we're giving it away, it's like, it's kind of, I guess, like going to a priest or a rabbi and, going to a confession kind of a thing. But it's not in a way of judgment. It's simply in a way of, I no longer need I no longer need to be in this place anymore, All right. And the next one, we're at 6 now. We're entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. So talk to me about that one.
Again, it's that willingness, between the 6th and 7th step where we, ask God to remove it as well. It's just the willingness, like, we do not want to carry this with us anymore. That's that unleash, get rid of that burden. It's very similar to, Catholicism, going to confession. We get it out, and then we just ask our higher power, whatever that is that you believe it to be, to just take it away and just have, a faith and a willingness for that, to allow the higher self to carry it for us, participate.
And it's just, again, in treatment, entirely ready to remove these defects of character. So if there's things that I call them weeds, when fear, doubts, insecurities, whatever it may be, whatever it is, that old patterns that didn't serve me, I call them weeds. So we can pluck out the weeds of fear, doubt, insecurity. And that's what we do in that second part, and in the third step of. The second part is where I know who and what I really am. But that third step of treatment is where we now say, get rid of it. I know who I really am, but I also, some people use that. We have to find a clear path. And as a practitioner, and that's everyone, whether you're licensed or not, if you're doing treatment, you are in that place. You are that. So it's simply knowing the truth, and whatever needs to be done in that step 3. There used to be 7 steps of treatment where we would have that denial. It is not, and I whatever it is, it's knowing that I know that this is not the truth of me, and letting go of any fear or anxiety, letting go of any actions that did not serve, letting go of everything, and just giving it over and releasing it. And we do that, but we use different language. To me, when you read that, it does, it denotes guilt. Remove these character defects. It's not about that. I mean, it can be anything. It could be spending more than you would like to. It can be whatever it may be, you can put in there. And don't we go to Spirit for everything? Isn't that what we're taught? Isn't that the whole point of our teachings? That, Spirit in me, as me, is me. Therefore, it's a communion with. Isn't that the point? So when I find something that doesn't suit me, and if I'm having difficulty, that's when I go to treatment. So it's not about something outside of me. It's not saying it that way. It's simply allowing whatever it is that you believe in to help.
Definitely.
And number 7 is where we are. Mm-hmm. Humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. And again, the language of that may not seem as science of mind.
Right. I was gonna say there's just a slight difference there. In science of mind, we just have faith and we know that it's happening. So it's less of an asking in science of mind. It's more of a knowing, but it's semantics. It's really the same thing. Just the willingness to alleviate us of our, our habits or our coping mechanisms, to just be comfortable and strong and faithful in what we know and believe ourselves.
And I think for me too, it's like that particular one. It's the taking the ego out of it. It's humbly asked to remove. So I look at it as, well, the best way I ever heard it described that I loved is, I can't, God can, I'm going to let him. I can't, and I mean little I, the smaller self, the ego self can't, but spirit can, and I'm going to let it. Spirit in me, as me, can do anything. And when I go to that source, when I resource, that's what that is to me. It's knowing that of my own I cannot. But when I go to the source, anything is possible. Everything is the eyes that you're looking through, and we look through experience and otherwise. And sometimes there's so much baggage for a lot of people. Every person is an individual, and every person at every point of their life is completely different. So it's one of the things that you really see in any 12-step program is you can see people transform in amazing ways. And if you're going according to, this year, that's really what we're talking about at CSL as well. We're talking about that transformation process and being in a place of, what is the vision? What do we choose? And how do we, what does spirit want of me? And we're learning to look from that higher lens. But sometimes you got to get the ego out of the way. And everyday life is where that ego plays. So that's where that humility comes in. It's realizing, okay, there's something bigger, and I'm going to go to the well.
I love that you emphasized humbly, because that is definitely what it is. It's not an arrogance. It's not a saying, that I am somehow channeling God. Oh, it's just a humble acceptance that this higher power is with us. So, great point.
And again, I just want to say to people that are watching, this is a quick overview. This is a study that could be literally for many is a lifetime. And that there's meetings that read the book over and over again, that there's reading and sharing on the reading. If you've never been, there's different types of meetings. It's important to try, is what I always tell people. And there's also big book step study meetings. There's another whole, that literally just focus on the way it's written. There's all types of different, 12 steps along the way as far as the program goes and how to use them. And it's not about one way. It's just about, this is just to give a little bit of information for anyone that's wondering, well, what is it and how does it work? And, there are a lot of people, and being mindful that there are a lot of people in our doors that have come from. And I think that's wonderful that, there are people that went from no faith to more than anyone, because their life was saved when finally it was reached out for. Spirit was always there, but some people lose the way. And, this is one way a lot of people find spirit, which is, that's the whole point. What I love about our teaching is that it's all about, whether it's think about, I always love the analogy of the mountain. We're all climbing the mountain, every different faith. It doesn't matter. There's not separate mountains. There's only one spirit, whatever you call it. There's one creator. There may be different names, but we love them all. And that's the beauty of it. There is no wrong. So in the interest of time, I'm going to move along. And number 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. And this, again, sometimes, people look at this and you could see guilt. You could see guilt, shame, whatever it may be. When you see that, what do you think of when you see that, Chris?
I just love the idea of trying to right the wrongs the best we can. And one of the things that they point out is we don't do it in cases where it's going to cause more harm. We don't want to necessarily reopen a wound that doesn't need reopened, but it's such a powerful alleviation of ourselves to try to make it right. And in the 12 steps, they really encourage people to physically contact people and make those amends. Whereas in like Science of Mind, we do a lot of this work, but I've never necessarily been directed to go out and contact the people from 20 years ago and try to make amends. It's maybe something that occurs, but at the same time, there's so many different processes to kind of do the same kind of work of just freeing our consciousness. You could write a letter to the person, journal it, ask for forgiveness in your in the prayer or meditation. And the way we believe, in Science of Mind about the universal consciousness, there's power in that, just by freeing them, freeing yourselves mentally within, and knowing that this higher power has that strength to do that and that ability. I think it's a powerful step.
And the other thing about amends that I think it's important, there's nothing wrong with saying I'm sorry.
Right.
If there's something that I did to someone and I see them, I'm not going to want to talk to them because I know the last time I saw them, I said something. There's a freedom in saying that, I'm working on me and I'm sorry for the way that I treated you. There's a self-forgiveness in that. It's not seeking necessarily somebody else's, because the important thing to know about that step is too, it's not about what they say. If they don't accept it, it doesn't matter. They have every right to stay mad. When we give forgiveness, it's a gift to ourselves. So this is giving ourselves that gift of self-forgiveness. So I don't have to feel bad for how I treated someone, or if I stole, or if I did something that hurt someone else. I don't have to feel bad about it ever again. That's the gift of it. It's really, we can give it away, but when we see that person, are we going to feel guilty? Anything that holds on our heart in any way needs to be healed and released. And we know for ourselves, you can simply say, I'm sorry. I saw on a newscaster was talking. She's a producer of one of the talk shows, and she also is a writer. She a reporter, and she reached out to someone. It was over violence and things that had happened, and she reached out to someone that had bullied her in high school, and said, "I just want you to know, I don't know if you remember me or not, but I just want you to know the effect you had on me was great." And that person apologized and said, basically, they reached out and said, "I am so sorry I did that. I don't particularly remember it. And I made that, which I feel even worse about. But I was in a really at that time in my life," and said, "This is what was going on. And it does in no way excuses it, but I want you to know that I am sorry." That was so healing for the person that wrote the letter. Now, it can happen both ways. There's times that, many people write a letter and say, "I'm sorry for what I did," and people didn't remember it. But that person knew they treated people poorly. This then gave that person a chance to forgive themselves. So it works both ways, and it's an amazing gift that we get. Forgiveness is always a gift. So when we are simply saying, it's not the best of who I was, it doesn't matter how it's reacted to. It's never to put ourselves in a place of, it's not less than. It's simply saying, it's not the best of me. And now I can release it for that higher and better. And it doesn't have to rent space in my head in any way anymore.
Absolutely.
Number 9, okay, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And you brought that up actually a little bit already. And want to say a little bit more about that, or?
The only thing that I was going to add was really adding, kind of reiterating and adding to what you said. There is nothing wrong with saying sorry, and sometimes it can be very beneficial, because a lot of the people that we have maybe wronged in the past, like you said, it's not about them. It was where we were at in that time in our space, and not living our life in the best way when we may have harmed someone. And it's possible, and all these people that we've harmed, they've been carrying around this feeling of less than forever because somebody treated them that way that made them feel that. So, I've seen it happen where people really appreciate getting the apology, wait many years down the road and just say, I all this time I thought you hated me, or I thought that you didn't have a high opinion of me. I didn't realize, where you were at, why you caused that, why you act like that. And so a lot of times it's sad that, that people have treated others poorly. I know I've treated many people in ways that I really regret. And so to reach out and just let them know that it wasn't them, it was that I was the one in the wrong, that I feel horrible. A lot of times it can bring a renewed energy to them and allow them to hopefully, if it has been affecting their self-esteem for many years, that apology can be very valuable.
And I think it's really important to know that humility and humiliation are completely different things.
Absolutely.
Completely different things. To be humble is to know the right space. I'm not better than anyone, but I'm not less than anyone either. And we can't be in that space until we've let go of all the crap that we were holding on to. We can't soar until let out. We get rid of all the stuff that may have been holding us back. So we get the opportunity to then realize the right sizeness of it all. And that is a gift. It absolutely, in a lot of ways, it's not about, there's no humiliation in saying I'm sorry at all. It's being your best self. It's calling forth. And a lot of times people don't even remember the things that we've wasted our time on over and over again. Oh, don't worry about it. That was no big deal. Or sometimes it is. And, it gives a chance for things to heal. I've seen many siblings in this type of thing, or, have a healing because there was an acknowledgement of what went on before. And it's also important to remember that the other person isn't going through a program. So while one person may be healing, the other person may not be there or ready to. So sometimes they're not accepted. And if that's the case, then, it's doing the best you can to do that. And 10 is continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. So it's monitoring ourselves and just acting appropriately. The gift of this is, when you're conscious of how you're treating people, you tend to be kinder.
Yep, isn't that funny how that works? It is. It's very powerful.
And when we come from that place of paying attention, because there's so much of life that often is unconscious, it's just there. But when we pay attention, it's amazing, because I don't have the right, just like no one has the right to hurt me, I don't have the right to hurt anyone else either. And sometimes our actions, our words, our reactions can.
Most definitely.
And if at some point I did, and I know that wasn't my best self, I need to say sorry. And I do it for me. It's not about anyone else. Because if not, it bothers me. It brings me down.
Absolutely. Powerful. When we do this work, then we notice our tendencies. And so then as we move forward, we're more likely to, oh, there it is. I just did that again. And then, man, there is just such strength and power in reaching out and just saying, I did this. I am so sorry I did it. Because most people, they kind of just, they don't do that. They just hold it back and like, oh, shoot, I hope they didn't notice. I wonder if they noticed. Whatever it
Too much
is.
thought.
But it
Too
takes
much thought in all of that.
Yeah.
We get the freedom from just saying, it's not what I meant, I apologize. And it's a mindfulness. And life is a process. It's not a one and done. You don't do these steps. Okay, I graduated. There is no graduation. It's, it's a life in life, continued to do it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood and praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. And that is a mouthful, and I'm going to say it again. Sought through prayer and meditation, which we teach all the time, to improve our conscious contact with spirit. And that's what we, again, do. We teach all the time as we understand it, praying only for the knowledge of the will for us and the power to carry that out.
So powerful.
And isn't that what we teach?
Absolutely. It's the constant contact and acknowledgement of that higher source. And then, the saying, and I used this in the meditation last night, that when we pray, we are talking to God, but when we meditate is when we are listening to God. And that stillness, when we hear that still small voice, that it's really amazing that there is guidance available to us. We can tune in and actually hear the voice of the divine. It's always a loving and supportive voice when we're able to. So I love that.
And that's, it's a constant. It's not a when I get to it. It has to be, because if not, if I fail to grow spiritually, I'm going back. The reason that I can live that freedom is because I'm living in a way that keeps me free. So if I'm doing something quote unquote wrong, or I view as illegal, immoral, it weighs on me. That conscience isn't clear. And that's where we live differently. Then we need those, that's where needing those things to cope with life comes back. Yeah. And the last one is, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And I think that that's one of the most important, to me, the things that we can even learn. Having had a spiritual awakening, it had nothing to do with whatever the ism is. It's about a spiritual awakening.
Yeah, it's so powerful. At first take, that 12 step sounds almost like proselytizing, but not necessarily. It is saying to take it to other people that can use it. But, as we know, like in the science of mind, we teach that it's not, a philosophy or religion that we proselytize. It's just something that we are grow by attraction. So that as we have this spiritual awakening, it's pretty amazing how just when you show up in a different way, in an empowered way, and your life is more functionable, that people see it. And like you said, much earlier in the conversation, that people see what we have and decide that they want that too. Like, we attract those who resonate and who are ready to live life in a different way. And basically they just ask what it is that we're doing, that they notice it.
And Marian, yes, we have to forgive ourselves first. Absolutely. It's learning how to live in that freedom, which is the most important thing, because we want that life that is happy, joyous, and free. And to have that means that we need to live in a way that we are carrying, the message. And isn't that what it's all about? We say in our teachings all the time, a world that works for everyone. And when we treat, it's being in a place of, that bigger, that grander, the more than, the all that is. That's really what we're here to do. We're not just here so that we are financially okay. We're not just here that we don't just need to treat for us to be healthy as individuals. It's carrying this message. And that's one thing that people in the program that have program strength in any of the 12-step programs, really, they know the value of working with someone else. That's how the whole program started. is that there were a few people that got together, and when they shared their experience, strength, and hope, they got better. They stayed sober. They stayed healthy. And the more people they shared it with, the more they stayed healthy. They didn't do it to be altruistic. They did it because through sharing truth, they stayed in the truth. And, that's one thing that, really our teachings are all about, is that sharing that truth. These are the miracles that have happened in my life. And we do that sometimes in service. Sometimes we'll have an occasional person that goes up and talks about how their life has changed. But it's so important that people know, where did you get that spirit that makes you joyful? That's what we can share in a way that no one else can, because we've been to that darker side. We get to now live in the light and celebrate that light. So any other, and like you said, it's attraction. It's absolutely about being that place and being the light. And, our teachings are the same way. It's something different, and we have something, and it's something worthy of sharing.
Most definitely. Not everybody's ready for it, but those that are, they hear the message and they want to know more.
And I just want to say that there's you can go online and look at, there's, I believe, hundreds of different types of 12-step programs at this point. And they're all over the world. And I know it's AA.org or NA. is Narcotics Anonymous. There's Overeaters Anonymous. There's just OA.org. There's Gamblers Anonymous. There's just GA. There's so many different types. Excuse me? Workaholics.
Like something.
Debtors Anonymous. People that, there's so many, and it's all good, and it doesn't matter, because it's if you take whatever the ism is out and you just say problem, because everybody has seeming problems. If you just put whatever, you take that one word out, it fits everyone. So it is so important, and I just want to put this up here.
Thank you.
Chris, this is Chris, and he is absolutely, available for coaching and spiritual coaching consultation, and that's your email address. And while we have a few minutes, I just want to say, tell me a little bit about the Soul Collaborative.
Okay, so I know we're short on time, so I'll make it as quick as I can.
Go right ahead. Take your time. Do what you need to.
Well, I
we'll
guess
go a few minutes over. We'll live La Vida Loca.
Okay, cool. But it's three of us. So it's Reverend Dan Granda, Reverend Ryan Pooley, and myself that's started this. And we are creating community. We have several things that are in the works coming up. But right now what we're doing, and we're having a lot of fun with, is if you want to go to soulevolutioncollaborative.org, you can see more about it. But we have a monthly theme breaking down into weekly themes. And so each Tuesday we release a new video. And so we've kind of like broken apart what people get out of a spiritual community. You get.
Is that the Truth Be Told?
Yeah, Truth Be Told is our Tuesday night episode, absolutely. And that introduces, and we talk a little bit about our theme of the week. And then on Wednesday night, I lead a guided meditation that is usually based on the theme of the week. Sometimes it changes depending on what's happening in the world. But then Thursday, the gathering is on Thursday night, and you can sign up for that on the website. This has been our favorite part. This is where we come together and we just have a discussion with the members, like the people that come and join us as Soul Evolution Collaborative. It's a small group, and we get together and we talk about the theme of the week, and it's been just the most amazing transformational time. Like, we get to go into each of these themes really deeply, and the people that have been showing up on Thursday, I'm learning so much just by being there. We basically just start the conversation. We talk for a couple minutes, ask a question, and then the people take it from there. And it's just been an amazing, really cool experience. And there's more to come down the ropes, but I know that we're going to be back on the 22nd, so I'll save it to talk about until we return.
It's a wonderful, it's a whole new way of looking at spirituality. And I know you've had tremendous feedback, and I know that you have a lot of coaching and teaching experience behind you, and as do the other two of your cohorts. And it's a wonderful spirituality is definitely changing. The way people look at things is definitely changing. So it's a gift. It's all a gift. And I look forward to hearing more about it in a couple of weeks. On the 22nd, April 22nd, you'll be back, and we look forward to it. So thank you, Chris, for being here. I appreciate you being here with us today. I also want to say that you can reach out to me. My information is also where you click. We are here, and I'm here when I do personal coaching for life coaching as well as practitioner sessions, as I know you're available as well. And ntmedia.org. Just know that we are here. And I want to mention also, part of that is for donations. If there's something that you've seen on this network that is, has served your soul, please know that we are here because of all of that you give. So please take go to ntmedia.org. There's a donate button, and just let us know, help other people find their way. So thank you so much for being here, Chris. And I appreciate your beliefs on this, and it's such an important topic. And knowing that the joy is in the journey, and we are here so that we can bring that joy to light more and more and in more amazing ways. So thank you so much for being here. And it is such a gift. So until next time, everyone, the joy is in the journey, and enjoy every bit of it. Blessings and love. Namaste.
Thank you, Gina.